Joining us now to react to our top story tonight, former White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, CEO of the Lawfare Project, Brooke Goldstein is back with us, former White House Press Secretary Ari Fleischer. Brooke, as I laid out Congresswoman Tlaib, as I laid out her Democratic colleagues unwilling to criticize her, it is mind-numbing to me that you have a party in America that is allowing some of the most radical extremes, bigoted, anti-Semitic voices to go unchecked. How does the Democratic Party, the party of political correctness, the party that's woke, how do they allow this to happen?
I hope you can hear me. I think there's a bit of a connection issue, but I want to emphasize how serious this is, that we have terror-affiliated groups and terror sympathizers at the highest level of government, in our schools and in our unions. Don't forget also Mahar Bitar, who was appointed by the Biden administration as the Senior Director of Intelligence on National Security, who is a former board member of Students for Justice in Palestine, which is organizing these pro-Hamas rallies as we speak and are terror-affiliated. And they feel emboldened to do this because the U.S. government has not acted to root out those connected with designated terrorist groups that are on our campuses or in our unions. The Starbucks union, for example, was posting support for Hamas. UCLA right now is having an event to legitimize the Hamas terror attacks. This is a national security issue of the highest order.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let me, Ryan, so much has been made. You go back to the Obama-Biden administration, they make this awful deal. President Trump talked about it, campaigned on it with Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terror. And, okay, Donald Trump eliminates all of that, isolates Iran, as they rightly should, neutralizes them because I think they really feared him, just like I think China feared Trump, and I think that Russia feared Trump. And I think it was not a bad thing that Kim Jong-un actually got along with Trump. But I think there was genuine fear. I don't think there's a fear of our current president. So my question is, now we go back to sucking up to the mullahs in Iran. Why is there this Democratic Party compulsion to deal with the #1 state sponsor of terror? I can't, for the love of me, figure that out.
Well, Sean, it's all about appeasement. It's all about people wanting to believe that everybody is good and not accepting the fact that there are horrible, evil people involved in these terrorist groups in the Middle East. And for the people out there, just go back. It's important to remember when Hamas came into power in Gaza, it was Iran and Hezbollah that funded their stunning takeover of Gaza. Then Iran, for years and years and years, have been funding Hamas by the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars every single year. Turkey is not innocent either, by the way. Then they came in with Biden, Obama, and they cut the Iran deal. I can remember Donald Trump fighting people in his own administration to shut down that Iran deal within the first few weeks of his presidency. And by the way, it started in 2016 during the transition. If you remember, there was a UN security resolution condemning Israel on resettlements. We were told to back off. You're not in power anymore, and you're violating the law by sticking your nose into this resolution in 2016. Then I wrote a few other highlights down. Trump then, in 2017, you remember, recognized Jerusalem as the capital. In 2018, they unveiled the capital in Jerusalem. He then signed a proclamation in 2019 to give Israel the rights over the Golan Heights. There's one other thing. It was Donald Trump, too, in that administration that shut down the $75 million that was going to go to Gaza and the West Bank. And in April of 2021, Joe Biden reinstated the $75 million that went to Gaza and the West Bank. So, look, tyrants are tempted by weakness, and there are evil, horrible people in the world that think they're doing great things by slaughtering people, and there's no academia or professor out there that can justify what's been going on in Israel over the past several weeks?
You know, the Israelis now have over 500,000 troops at the ready, Ari Fleischer. This counteroffensive is now imminent. Last night, during the course of the 2 hours we were on the air, over 450 airstrikes in Gaza, preparing the way for this ground conflict that is very obviously happening. Over 100,000 troops currently now stationed at the border. They're ready to go. I would imagine this is pretty imminent here. And the Israelis, to their credit, they're trying to tell the innocent people in Gaza, get out, because if you stay, you will die. They are sending that to every phone that they possibly can, every form of communication available. They are sending it to them because they have a respect for human life. There was no such warning given to the people of Israel. How do you see this playing out? And politically, can you explain why Joe Biden won't talk about Iran?
Yeah, that was a terrible mistake, not only politically, but substantively and militarily by Joe Biden. The way you deal with Iran is by drawing a bright line and making it clear to the world and demonstrating strength. It's what Ronald Reagan would have done. It's what Donald Trump did. George W. Bush would do it. And now we have the silence from the Joe Biden, Barack Obama wing of the Democratic Party when it comes to how to handle Iran. And if you're the Iranians, you just look at that and you go, aha, you see? They don't know how to handle us. They're afraid of us. And it gives them license to be adventurous. It gives them license to push and to probe and to test and to see where we're weak. And that's my fear about Joe Biden. He gave a very good speech yesterday and used the right words. But will he use the right actions? And he hasn't yet when it comes to Iran. And that really worries me. The Israeli mission...
You're right on some of the substance of the words. He did say a lot of the right things, but he didn't mention Iran. If we want to get to the root cause...
That's what I just said, Sean. He didn't. That's what I just said.
Okay.
Joe Biden has demonstrated weakness when it comes to how to deal with Iran because he didn't draw a line for all Iranians, for the Iranian leadership to know and to see. And this is the time for drawing lines. But I'll tell you something else that needs to be done. These protesters, these pro-Hamas, pro-murder, pro-terrorist protesters in America's streets, the Department of Homeland Security needs to figure out who they are. And if any of them have overstayed a visa, if any of them are here illegally, we need to deport them and deport them tomorrow. We have the technology. We know that. It was used against the January 6th rioters. We need to do the same thing here to these people because it's only a matter of time before we're struck in this country. And anybody who overstayed those visas and shows up at these rallies, gone, out of America.
Hey, Ari, by the end of this year, Joe Biden will have aided and abetted over 8 million people into this country. A congressional report just came out in the last week saying that 99% of the people that crossed our border stayed here. Now, there's been no vetting.
Yeah.
I can tell you, as certainly as I'm sitting here breathing and talking on television tonight, I guarantee you people with terrorist intentions are setting up cells right here in America because of Joe's open border policies. Now, to me, when that day comes, America should not be surprised. Now, I'll say this very proud. I would be proud to come on the air and say, I was wrong about that prediction. But I don't think I'm going to be proven wrong. You were with President Bush on 9/11/01. You know, Ari. And you know what? What did we learn from the 9/11 Commission report? They were at war with us. We were not at war with them.
Yep.
It seems like we have forgotten in this country because I guarantee you those cells are here and they're plotting and they're scheming and they're planning and they will attack. That's coming. Again, I pray I'm wrong. Ari, thank you. Reince, thank you. Brooke Goldstein, thank you.